Welcome to SOUQ Pulse. It's a very beautiful day here in the city of Lagos, Africa's best. And this is where you should be at this time of the day. My name is Chuks, John Rogers Chuks, and on SOUQ Pulse we'll tell you, come, let's talk. SOUQ News, we are all about positivities. So come this way and detox. It doesn't matter what narrative has hit you all through the day. What news? Good, bad. Just get here and detox. And solutions you will seek and find, and businesses will move. Even if the businesses are not moving, at least we'll talk about it. This is SOUQ Pulse, where we talk and we tell you the same thing. So call up your friends, call up your neighbors, your business associates. If you can argue, good, but never stop talking. It doesn't matter what's happening in your nation. It doesn't matter what your business is doing. It doesn't matter the policies affecting or not affecting. We talk. So today we will go to something that most people have not woken up to, this particular fact. That in 2 months and about 7 days, something is going to drastically change the way you do business, the way you live, and the way you just move around your normal life. We'll bring that to the fore and we'll talk about it. The businesses that are going to be affected. And if it's really going to happen, we are not really sure. But has it been said? Yes. So you need to be part of this particular show. So call up your friends, call up your business associates, and those you go to shopping with, call them up. And for every beautiful lady out there, I think you need to listen to this, but this also affects you. This is SOUQ Pulse. Don't go anywhere. We're going to a very short break and we will start this particular program and discussion, and we will talk. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is SOUQ Pulse, and here we say, let's look for means to get more productive. We say Africa should join the race, Nigeria should join the race. So it doesn't matter your country, as long as you are on this side of the divide, we have to come to the market and bring product to the market. Not just bring product to the market, sell, go home and make more. That's the only way we can be productive. And prosperity will see us in the face and we'll go home with it. Now, let's have this at the back of our minds. The things that will make us less productive, we'll also talk about it. The things that will make us more productive, we'll talk about it. The policies that will affect this chain of productivity, we'll talk about it. And that's what we are going to today. Now, for those of you in Nigeria, Lagos to be precise, there has been this policy that will take effect from January 1st, 2025. And that is a policy that is going to have this drastic effect if it happens: ban on single-use plastics. Now, for those that don't understand it, if you go to the shopping mall and when you're leaving, you go and pack what you bought in a polythene bag, those are single-use plastics. There's going to be a ban on it. For every beautiful lady out there and rain happens to fall and you need to cover your hair with those nylon or those particular shawl or those particular head covers you use that are disposable, you're not going to see it anymore. For those that also use those particular body covers that they are disposable, you're not going to see them anymore. For those that drink beverage from all of those companies, those big ones, the ones that advertise on daily, you're not going to see them anymore. For those that drink water, you call it table water, right? You're not going to see them anymore. And for every single one of us that depend on pure water because of one issue or the other, availability of potable water, you're not going to see them anymore. If this ban, as it's been said, take place by the 1st of January. So now I think it should now start making sense to every one of us that, okay, hold on. Now we're going to talk about this and say, okay, where is this leading us? But first, what are the economic implications? To talk and bring light to this particular discourse for today is no other but an environmentalist, someone that has taken it upon himself to make sure that communities not just get involved but also get heard, and also are not displaced based on business, based on mining, based on whatever resources is being exploited in their place, based on even the environment himself that he is protecting. As long as the community is not suffering the negative effect of every one of this, this is the initiative he has stood for and is making sure he is heard and his initiative is propagated. We are talking about the Executive Director of Renevlyn Development Initiatives. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SOUQ Pulse once again, Mr. Philip Jakpor. Sir, welcome to SOUQ Pulse.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here all the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, we had people talk about this, but now they were looking at it from the manufacturer's point of view. Two of the men that were on SOUQ Pulse to talk about this particular policy were looking at it, okay, we are manufacturers of this product. Now I need an environmentalist and someone who is community conscious, people conscious, to give us a perspective that's 100% different and looking at the economy of this particular ban. People will say, okay, it doesn't concern me, I am not making it. Are you sure? Let's talk. So let's start this way. Basics. This ban on single-use plastics, was it a hasty one?
Well, I don't want to believe this announcement is a hasty one. I think earlier this year, the Lagos State government had talked about the ban on styrofoam. I think sometime last year, the state government had also talked about the ban looming. But I think the only thing that was missing, which of course is responsible, is we didn't see the state government do manufacturers for the transition. So it's a good policy, but if you don't manage it well, it's going to have a backlash. Manufacturers say, oh, they were not given enough time.
Okay, we are not just looking at the manufacturers right now. Now you believe that it is not a hasty one because that of styrofoam was said it was going to be banned last year, but as you know, and we on this other divide know, that as we speak now, we still see those particular plate disposables, takeaway kind of things that we say has been banned, we still see it in the market. We still see it being used. It's still everywhere, it's still clogging our gutters and our waterways. This brings us to the next question. If we say this is going to happen, how are we going to deal with the implementation? Look of what we say is going to be banned.
Well, again, that brings us back to said earlier on. So it is not enough to announce the ban, put in place some measures to make people understanding is very, very important. That education is key. The dangers of these single-use products in our environment. They are not biodegradable. And now we are hearing of people consuming what they call nanoplastics. You know, of course, you've mentioned our waterways, our gutters clogged, our canals clogged. But then we've had cases of dead fish. And when they were dissected, we see particles, plastics. So they may have been killed by the plastics they consumed. So if the fish consume plastic, it will mean some of these plastics are also finding their way into our system. So it is bad enough. But has the state government done enough? I will say no, because you hardly hear of the news, except when you have an announcement like this. The news should not be just a one-off. We should start hearing it in the schools. Organizations like National Orientation Agency should be partnered with so that they translate this into local language. People will embrace the policy when they understand it. there's something about proximity. When you know that that thing you are doing or that thing in your environment also affects you, you tend to embrace initiatives that will protect you. But that's the area the state government is failing, because yes, you are right. Look at the whole environment. Look at our canals. Look at the gutters plugged with plastics everywhere, single-use plastics, and the sanctions that we will have expected to be there is not there. And then you go to the eateries, the shopping malls. The nylons are still, the polyethylene, they are still there. By now, we should have seen models of what they can start using. I was in Ghana some 3 or 4 years ago, and I was surprised that most of the shopping malls, what they give you, even the eateries, is paper bags, which can degrade once it touches water or any moisture. So we are, and Rwanda in Central Africa has done a lot in this regard. Rwanda is one of the cleanest countries in Africa. And why? They have done away with plastics. They have done away with these single-use plastics and styrofoam. And not only have they removed it from their system, there are sanctions when you come to the airport, for instance, or some public places with, these single-use plastics. There are sanctions. So for those who are manufacturing those kind of products, there are sanctions. For those using them, there are sanctions. For those who are manufacturing products that safeguard the environment, there are incentives. So incentives,
before we get to sanctions, incentives, who takes Naira, Kobo percentage and all that, let's go back to that implementation. You've talked about information, how involved and how informed is the populace. You've talked about an alternative. We'll also get there. If the state decides, okay, good, January 1st, we are going to implement this, how is it going to work? Because are they going to look at the manufacturers? Are they going to look at those end users? Are they going to look at mid-chain users? How is it going to work? Because we all are involved. As I speak with you in the studio, if I bend over and lift my hand, I have a bottle of water. It's on the table right now. So how is the implementation going to work?
Personally, I believe the implementation is going to be very, very clumsy. Clumsy in the sense that already you have, the tabled water manufacturers that we're talking about. I think some days ago, they said they have about 10,000 employees nationwide, 2,000 of which are in Lagos alone. And that this transition is going to affect them because there are no incentives on ground, there are no plans on ground. And that's why I believe the implementation is going to be very, very clumsy. I still believe we should have a time frame. It could be now generate a lot of attention on the issue. Let's do a 1-year thing. And the issue should be sustained. It's not once in a while we hear this and then only 1 or 2 months to when the ban is supposed to take effect, then you come out, and it should be sustained. There should be sustained engagement of the organizations, the networks, the groups like the tabled water people, the sachet water people, engagement with them so that you start pointing alternatives to them. Now, the ban on single-use plastics is going
to... Talking about alternatives, you said something about Ghana, and you said something about the paper bags. Having sources of biodegradable paper bags. Yes. Right now, that is not popular in Nigeria. The people that use paper the most, although they still drop it into some polythene bags, are maybe the people that sell roasted meat, suya. That paper has always been there for them. You might even be shocked you see your academic result as a suya paper. Now, let's leave that. Is it possible to see paper as a substitute for a country this large? And where are we going to start manufacturing that paper from? Knowing fully well where paper itself is coming from.
Paper, trees, of course, is plants. Coming from pork. Yes,
we have that. Pork. Is it not going to cost us more importation too?
Now, I think this is where this is an investment opportunity also. Because I know that's one of the things we should also be looking at. So the pulp industry, from where we get these papers, the industry itself has been dwindling, suffering, and that's why you have the newspapers very, very expensive because that industry has been neglected. Now is the opportunity for investors to go into that sector because that sector is going to be very, very productive because it is an alternative and it is a safe and more affordable alternative. Now, this again is where the state government, it's not something that should be restricted to Lagos State government alone. It should be a holistic thing. Lagos State government has taken a lead. So if the Lagos State government is on driving this initiative, if at the federal level, the importation of pulp and all those things are not affordable, it's going to affect the policy here in Lagos State. And that's why I repeat that it's going to be a very, very clumsy implementation. We should have a national ban on single-use plastics. We should have a national ban on styrofoam so that the policies that are going to be implemented are going to be holistic because Lagos is just a state out of 36. Now, this is where, again, like I said, the policies have to be made to make that industry, lucrative so that we have this transition. And like I said earlier, this policy is going to have effect even on other policies. Because when we are saying we shouldn't buy sachet water, which litters the environment, it also means that we will now have to also start piling pressure on the state government to ensure that we have taps everywhere so that when you are going there with your water bottle, you have water readily that you can fetch into your water bottle and you move around with it. So it is not enough to just say you want to do away with sachet water, do away with bottled water, and we don't have adequate water. You are going to create more problems. So it's a policy that is going to affect.
Why we look at that particular problem that is going to crop up if water in sachet is banned? Now let's first go through the manufacturers of this single-use plastics. Also manufacturers or makers of sachet water, makers of bottled water like this, makers of also those beverages. We've tried our best to take out the labels. Now we know 99% of these beverages come in single-use plastics. How are they going to diversify their investment?
So again, we come back to the same subject. That's why I said it's going to be very, very clumsy. The time frame is simply too short. The attention of government, the attention span of government is also very, very short. So it is not just enough to make pronouncements and create confusion. Now is the time to look at how, because when we're talking about investment, we're talking about machines. These companies are multi-billion-dollar companies that are producing plastics. How are they going to switch overnight? It's not going to be possible. So I want to anticipate that the January takeoff date for ban, maybe sachet water, but that or the bottled water, the table water, there's likelihood that it's going to be extended further. So you are also going to see this discrepancy again for those who can afford the table water, which is very,
very... Please hold on to that thought. Why is it that when there has to be a change or somebody takes the knock, is the man that is down the ladder that takes the knock more? If we say, okay, maybe it's sachet water, okay, good. Then the port takes the knock. Are we going to have pipe-borne waters, portable water in different locations in 2 months, 1 week? If we say, let's start with sachet water, because if you
and I know that,
look around Lagos, the highest selling product is sachet water, because that is one of the major means people get portable water to drink, yes, to live. In some areas, they even use it to bath because the water they have there is not good enough for them in some areas. But now, how do we combat water not being in sachet? Let's talk, every one of us. The rich can take care of themselves.
Well, the starting point is this. For some of us who grew up here in Lagos, I was born in Lagos here. I schooled in Obalinde near the Northern Barracks when that was the federal capital territory. Primary 1, 2, 3, on my way with my friends from school, we always look forward to where we'll see the taps, and they are not usually very, very far. Every street had a tap. The implication is that those who don't have pipe-borne water to their homes, they can take their buckets, go down the street and fetch water. My late elder sister, when she comes from school, around 4, 5 p.m., she takes bucket and the water is drinkable, pure, no colors, no odor. That was, I'm talking about 1981, 82, 83. Here we are in 2024, virtually no public water is working. So, and that's why I said what I said, that this policy has implication on other policies. And it gives room for advocacy, because now we must start demanding that we have taps on every street, so that when you say we shouldn't patronize table water, we shouldn't patronize sachet water, we have ready alternative. In fact, not the alternative, the solution, which is that every street or every part of Lagos has adequate, safe, and affordable water. So it's a policy that has implications on other policies. But will that be possible between now and January? That is where the issue is. So it's going to be a clumsy implementation.
May or may not be possible between now and January. I'll still repeat it again. We have November, we have December, and this is 23rd, which means 7 more days, 2 months and 7 days. Let's still focus more on the economic issues. Small businesses, both the person making this particular table water, the people that make these are no more small businesses anymore, but it's still going to hit them. And the person making that sachet water, or the person making those polythene bags that you have to use when you go to the malls or go to the shop and you buy, or the person in the middle selling or reselling or being the third person selling, were they actually considered when these policies were made? How are they going to live their lives moving forward if this eventually comes to play?
In this policy and the planned implementation, except we hear something else tomorrow, we see again policies that are either ill-conceived or faultily implemented. Because these people you have mentioned, who are smallholders, trying to hack a living, any little thing from what they sell every day, are now the ones who are going to be at the brunt, face the real implications of this policy, because I'm sure they are the ones that the state government will go after. The state government is not likely to go after the big bottling companies that are producing what you have on your table. Those people are going to be pampered. Those people are going to ask for incentives, and they are going to be given time. But those people selling the sachet water on the streets, who constitute the majority, will not be given that room. So it is something that gives us the responsibility as civil society and as stakeholders in this state to start, clamoring for the right thing to be done. And for me, I still believe we still need to give people more time, and not just giving people time, we must see the state government putting in place, initiatives that will aid that transition. When we always talk of transition, we always add a just transition. It is just when it addresses the concerns of everybody, concerns of workers, concerns of manufacturers, and that's what makes it just. If not, it's going to be an unjust policy when the common man is going to be chased around, arrested, his business is going to crumble, but those big players are going to even be incentivized, giving more time. So let it be a blanket thing. Let the education continue. People will embrace a policy when they understand it and when they see how it concerns them. People will embrace a policy when they see that the government is serious
Okay,
about
that's a very
ameliorating their
good
plight.
very good landing point. People embrace a policy when they understand it and see how it concerns and affects them. Okay, now there are two major pillars on which this policy, to me and to my understanding, is hinged: health wise and also pollution wise, the environment. Okay, this begs me to ask you, as an environmentalist, do you think manufacturers, as in the real manufacturers of this plastic, before it gets to the second user or the third person I have to retail, do you think they should take some responsibility for cleaning up the products coming out of their machines?
100%. 100%. In fact, in other parts of the world, in developed parts of the world, they take a responsibility for, for the kind of pollution we have in the environment. But let's not forget also that in those cities, I've been to Finland, where the manufacturers work with the government to ensure that every home has a bin for plastics, another one for bottles, another for papers, pulp, things that can biodegrade. And they haven't paid for returning them. So you see, it's a mix of policies. So I stayed with someone and I noticed that where the refuse bin, you have about 4 different kinds of refuse bins. You don't throw just anything into any. So when you're having a bottle, this one is written on the body bottles. So the recycling of those things take place. So they don't throw it into the environment. There are companies that come to pick those things every week. And then you are paid for ensuring that it gets to them. So it doesn't go into the environment. The companies take it back, and, they reuse it. So is that something we can learn from? I think we can learn from that. So that's why I said earlier on that even though we are talking of sanctions, incentives, education, you have to bring all these things together. So the sanctions will go more to those companies if their products are in the environment. So that means they have to do more in educating consumers that, look, don't throw this thing away. We are going to even provide a plastic, a dustbin where you can dump this product, and we're going to pay you. So imagine if you tell Nigerians, for instance, that for every sachet water that you drink, which is sold now for, I think, 20 naira, for every sachet water that you drink and you properly dispose it, maybe in a particular bin, if it gets to a threshold, you are going to get maybe 200 naira, 300 naira. You see people struggling to pack those things. If you do the same thing for tabled water, you see that. So you will have created another chain of employment, because we are going to have people who are going to be going around collecting those things because of what they are going to get. So you are not going to see those plastics anymore in the garbage or in the canals, because people are going to be making money from it. So the government has to be creative in pushing policies through. If you do this, I assure you, all of us will be involved in ensuring that the plastics, will keep them so that at the end of the week, we get something from it. So it's an
Why we
opportunity.
look forward to getting
Does the state
something
see it?
from it if this advice of yours is heeded? Now let's go back to the manufacturers. Let's go back to those within the chain of getting this product to the market, for those other manufacturers that will use it to package their content and we that will get to buy. If this policy hits the ground running, like hits the ground running the way it ran the first time we saw it, do you foresee jobs going?
Oh, of course. Because these companies have not been prepared to transit, they will have no option other than to lay off workers. Already, like I said, the tabled water producers are saying the 2,000 workers that they are employing in Lagos, they stand to lose their jobs when this policy kicks off, because they don't have a ready answer to the ban. So if they are not manufacturing, how will they pay their workers? So it shows that something is wrong somewhere. So the state government must talk with these people and work with these people to come up with alternatives that are environmentally friendly, and that will save jobs. And that's why we call it the just transition. But if it's a transition that will throw those people out of their jobs unexpectedly, like we anticipate, where if this goes as planned, then it is not a just transition. It is just hardship, which is something that we know happens in Nigeria. Somebody just wakes up today and says, oh, this policy, you're going to do this, and you affect people. Another one comes and changes it. So that's it. But if we have a rolling plan, so in the next 2-3 years, we're going to face it out. First year, this is what we're going to achieve. You sensitize people, you involve people, you talk to people, you incentivize people. Then in another year, this is what we're going to achieve. People will key into those policies.
Thank you very much. Now, for those that are just joining in, this is SOUQ Pulse, that you know already. This is SOUQ News. It has registered from the beginning. And here we talk. We have Mr. Philip Jakpor. He is an environmentalist and the ED, Executive Director of Renevlyn Development Initiatives. And we've been looking at single-use plastics ban in Lagos. We're looking at the economic implications. And for those that are wondering, yes, it's going to affect you. Whether you are making it or selling it or buy it, it's going to affect you. We're going to a very short break. When we return, we'll take this through another perspective. Don't go anywhere. SOUQ Pulse will be right back. Welcome back. It's SOUQ Pulse, and we are looking at single-use plastics ban in Lagos. That's supposed to take effect from 1st of January 2025. And we're looking at the economic impact. How is it going to hit? Who is going to take the heat? And who are those that we should be looking at, talking to, or really telling, hey, talk to us? We have Mr. Philip Jakpor, who happens to be the Executive Director of Renevlyn Development Initiative, and he's been throwing more light, shedding more light, giving us an understanding and a different perspective to all this. Now we are going to take it from a different perspective and look at the issues on the ground. Mr. Philip, with the current economic climate, do you think this is coming at the right time?
Well, I think that's a very good question. The answer is also a question. When can we say will be the right time? Already, plastic use is taking its toll on us. We are the ones complaining about flooding, water not finding its level. We are the ones complaining about different kind of ailments that we may be able to trace to the sustained use of, single-use plastics. We are also complaining about the impact of climate change. Don't forget, these single-use plastics come from the fossil fuel industry. So the same industry that is responsible for climate change is the industry manufacturing this product. And in the process, we are also worsening the climate crisis. So is it when it gets too bad that we can then talk about doing something? So I don't think any time can be the best or the worst time to do this. If we have to do it, we have to do it. And I think it's important. That's the way the world is going. But then we have to get it right. And getting it right will have to do with government intervention. That intervention is to make the transition as seamless as possible for all categories of people involved, the smallholders, the ordinary people out there, those who make a living from, styrofoam and the single-use plastics, and of course the industries that employ people. So government has to put on its thinking cap and do the right thing, the right way, and at the right time. But back to the question,
doing the right thing, the right way, and the right time. I want to ask you this because you are well experienced in this. How can we localize our own climate policies? Not just taking hook, line, and sinker what is formulated outside Africa. And when we get to those conferences, those papers are just dropped and we sign. how can we localize it so that it becomes something that is ours, something that is, as it affects us?
Well, on the issue of plastics, I think globally that plastics are dangerous because they are not, they don't degrade. And then, of course, we've seen, like I said, all what is happening. You fish. Well, there are many cases you see fish catch. There's plastic. There are many cases, especially in Lagos and parts of the Niger Delta, where you just wake up and hear that there's one whale that has been found dead on the shorelines. And then people dig into those things, start cutting, and then midway they seize plastics and consume plastics. Those things may have killed them. So this is not rocket science. This is not coming from outside. It is with us. And since us is a country that depends on fossil fuel, for our revenue earnings, we have a problem in our hands. This is not just what we have gone to sign or what we should sign. The reality is with us here. The reality in the environment that is polluted and we're not doing anything about it. The reality in the fact that, our lives have become so plasticized. Everything, you go to the eatery, it's plastic. You go to the shopping mall, everywhere. So it has become a mess, and something has to give. So localizing it, of course, has to do with a lot of education. Again, we don't need to use all those technical jargons to explain it to our people. If you can avoid using, those single-use plastics, you want to go to, it may even get to a point where you're going to the eatery, you want to buy rice, you want to buy anything, you take your plate there. If that is what it will take to save our environment, then we have to do it. But it takes a lot of education. And that education can only come from people who understand the issues and who are determined to bring about a positive change, not people who are looking at it from the point of view of seeing that they are working. And then another government takes over and then they start afresh. It has to be something consistent. So this is a timely initiative, but the government must get it right.
And the government is getting it right. Let's also ask this. A lot of people have questions that they find difficult to ask. But you see that gossip and mumbling happen all around. This kind of policy that has come out, do you think or see or have any inkling that is tied to any form of climate change funding?
Well, I don't know about the climate change funding, but I know that there's a global plastics treaty that we are supposed to be signatories to. So it's a global thing. So there's no escape for us. We just have to be part of it. Is this one good? I think it's a good initiative because we have seen the state of our environment. So the reasons why the Lagos State government is doing it, we don't know. We might be told something, but there's something else behind it. But then, as an environmentalist and one who has seen and understands the implications of single-use plastics in our environment, in our food chain, in our waterways, in the fish we eat, our rivers, our seas are going to be clogged with more plastics than fish in the next 20, 30 years if we continue like this. So something just has to happen. And I think it must start with a ban on single-use plastics, but then government must do that with some form of serious engagement with people that is going to affect, and then open pathways through which those people can transit or do other things that are meaningful and safe for our environment and our people.
Open pathways where people can transit. That brings us to the manufacturers, the real manufacturers, both those taking from the petrochemical industries and making this, and the petrochemical industries themselves that are also producing the raw materials. So who should be sitting on the table now with government to talk about this? Is it just government sit on their own and issue the ban? or everyone should come together and find a solution?
I think government should involve civil society, community, grassroots people, traditional rulers. It should be comprehensive. If that had been in place before now, if that's what the government had been doing, maybe we will not have had this uproar that we're having. It's to seem the government to just wake up one morning and say something. But if, for instance, in every community, the traditional ruler or traditional leaders or the councillors are the ones sensitizing their people, telling them the benefits of this and showing them pathways that can make them transit without feeling the pinch so much, I think we will not have this uproar. So it's a collective. It's not just the responsibility of the state. If the state cannot do it alone, if the state decide to do it alone, they are going to run into problems. And if they are determined to go ahead with the January deadline, I think it's going to be problematic, and ultimately the policy will fail. So you have to get it right and look at how other places, how they did it. Learn from Rwanda. How did the Rwandan government do it? That Rwanda today, Nigerians are saying, oh, you see a Nigerian travel to Rwanda and he's shooting videos. That's the same country where we had the Hutus and Tutsis kill themselves. The country was in tatters. What has happened? And in the area of plastics ban, they lead in Africa. How did they do it? So we should go and learn from those kind of countries. And that's why I said what I've said. I said earlier, there are sanctions. There are also incentives. It's just the determination of government to do the right thing, not just a focus on revenue, but yes, revenue, but also the well-being of the people for which the policies are being made. Those are the things.
Okay, now let's talk. We are concluding right now. Let's talk dollars, pounds, naira, and kobo. When it comes to doing away with this sachet water and the likes, every single plastic that we use, those the ladies used to. Where should we start investing? Should we be investing in research? Should we be investing in alternatives? Should we be investing in looking for what to convert this to? Where should the monies and the investment start coming into, and who should be providing that money? Both big local businesses, government, and wherever the funding is coming from.
Well, I think all the change you have mentioned, they are opportunities. In research, yes, very, very important. What that we want to experiment. In recycling, there are opportunities that are open. Which companies are there? How do they get these products back so that they end up recycling them into something more meaningful? In waste collection, there's opportunity. So there's opportunity in all the change. For those who want to start manufacturing plastic paper bags, there's opportunity. So this is where the Bank of Industry and these microfinance banks, this is where they too must be able to come in and see how they can help people with viable plans. And it's a viable industry, because that's the direction we must go. Even if not now, it's going to be later. We must go in that direction. So they should start that reorientation that this is the future. So this is where to put money. So if 1, 2, or 3 companies are able to break even and they are doing something, you see, and that's the Nigerian thing. Before you know it, everybody will pour into that sector to cash in on it. So people should start thinking now on that future, which is already before us. And the future is not plastic. The future is not single-use plastic. The future is not styrofoam. The future is renewable, that is safe, that is affordable, and built on a just transition. That's the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Philip. It's always a delight having you on SOUQ Pulse.
Thank you for having me.
And when we call you, you will answer us.
We will. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Now, for everyone out there, Lagos is a metropolitan city. Lagos is way more populated than a lot of African countries. Way more populated than some other Asian and European countries. Now, for those that know Lagos very well, there is absolutely nearly next to nothing you can't get when you are in traffic. When you are in a traffic. That's what we call it around here. So these are the major culprits in those traffic. Sometimes you even get full prepared meal in a plastic container. So that is going to go if this ban takes place. Some of the shoes you wear, some of the things you use for coverage, some of the things you use for beautification will go. Some of your packaging for products you buy in the market will go. So how do you transit? Now this concerns every one of us, not just those that are manufacturing, not just those that are selling, but every one of us. And this education we have to pass on and take it serious. Because if our health matter, if our environment matter, then our business should matter. And if we are trying to take care of human needs, then that is a business opportunity. So how do we all come together and find solutions to this? This is where we need to talk. The policy has been set. Implementation is, we are looking if it's how it's going to work. Is it going to be an issue? We will see. But we all need to keep talking and we all need to find solutions to this. We must live healthy and have a good environment. And business should strive. So we talk and we don't stop talking. It's my responsibility, it's yours. And this is SOUQ Pulse, where we talk. Remember, take care of yourself and love your neighbor as your friend. And as yourself too. My name is Chuks, John Rogers Chuks. We'll do this again tomorrow. Have yourself a beautiful evening. Bye.